Hello, everybody. My name is Munira, senior reporter at Mining Magazine. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Erasmus Shivolo. Mr. Erasmus has been an employee at Namibia's Ministry of Mines and Energy since 1996, having served several positions, including as Chief Engineer, Director of Mines, and currently as the Deputy Executive Director of the Department of Mines, Namibia. Thank you so much for joining me here, Mr. Shivolo. There's been an increasing focus on African states such as Namibia, who are resource rich and hold the key to the green transition. And Namibia itself has significant deposits of lithium, rare earths, uranium, and other elements that are very vital for renewable energy. But several goals and challenges lurk. One key one that's talked about a lot is sustainability, not only in the outcomes of mining through renewable energy, but also in the process of mining itself, doing mining in a way that does less harm to the environment, and making sure that mineral extraction is just to the communities that host these minerals and also to local groups and the wider public. Going green shouldn't come at the expense of communities on whose land mineral wealth exists. But especially for growing economies such as Namibia, the question is also of how mineral resources can be used wisely so that the country is able to move up the value chain and take on more processing, more manufacturing, and as a result, see more economic growth and development. Namibia has been a leader in this forum, and one of the main developments has been the introduction of the new equitable economic empowerment framework, which sets an outlook for development to be done in a way that benefits the people. Mr. Shivolo, could you tell me a bit about this?
Thank you, Munira. The National Equitable Economic Empowerment framework actually comes from Article 23, subsection 2 of the Namibian Constitution. The aim is to redistribute the resources, also to reflect the demographics in the management of national resources. Of course, it's not a law right now. It's a bill that is before Parliament. But substantially, it wishes to achieve local participation of indigenous Namibians and ownership in the mineral sector. It also has elements of local procurement, whereby it's expected that certain items, certain goods and services that are locally available in Namibia should and must be sourced here, irrespective of who owns that particular mining license or that particular who operates a license in that particular sector.
So one of the things that I read in the framework is that the government recognizes that the private sector will play a very leading role in the creation of employment in related sectors. Could you tell me a bit more about what the framework is doing for the private sector to encourage activities?
It's expected there will be some incentives. I know that there is work in progress as to develop incentives for private sector to thrive within this economic empowerment framework. I'm not exactly sure what the content is, but I do know that there is some work being done in order to develop incentives for investment to continue striving, particularly in the mining sector.
Mm-hmm. I also saw that there was a scorecard system that was introduced, and there was also mention of a forthcoming Minerals Act. Could you tell me a bit more about these policy decisions that Namibia is taking in mining?
The scorecard is actually an instrument that would come from a sectoral charters. This empowerment framework, when it comes into effect, it will have associated legislation, regulations, as well as sectoral charters. So these charters will now have a scorecard. If, for example, we're looking at procurement, how much local procurement has a certain mining company done versus how much it has procured outside of Namibia. Then there will be some scoring to get some points as a corporate citizen operating company in Namibia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As far as there is not a new regulation legislation as such in the mining sector. What we're doing is we are reviewing the current legislation that has been in place since 1994. It's actually a 1992 legislation, but it was enacted in 1994. So this is a very dynamic industry. Things change every couple of years. So we've seen a need to change the legislation with time. We have realized some challenges, and we would want to address those challenges by reviewing the law and also to make it competitive with other legislations around the globe.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that, alluding to what you've said, that I've noticed as a cause for or a challenge in some African economies that are particularly mineral rich, is moving up the value chain and incorporating local businesses and indigenous communities in the mining, and also in the more higher value methods such as processing and refining. And Namibia has really led the race in this regard because in June of last year, Namibia banned the export of unprocessed lithium and other critical minerals to encourage local processing. Could you tell me a bit about why this is important?
The minerals that you just mentioned, lithium, rare earth, graphites, manganese, etc. They are minerals that are very important for energy transition and clean energy for that matter. So they have become minerals of demand around the globe, and the narrative has to change. We can't be mining and exporting minerals in a raw form or in an unprocessed form, and one, creating jobs on the other side, and two, creating value-added products on the other side. Preference is to build, construct, and operate these beneficiation plants in Namibia. In fact, as far back as 2021, we developed a mineral beneficiation strategy for Namibia. It's already in place, the ban simply enforces that strategy to say, if you are mining, we would like you to also process in Namibia. If you are not able to process in Namibia, the door is open for any other investor that would have the technical and financial resources to invest in beneficiation projects, so that at the end of the day, we go as far down as possible in the value chain.
Mm-hmm.
We would, of course, want to be at the end of the value chain where, in an example of lithium, we would love to be able to produce lithium-ion batteries in Namibia. We would love to have all these solar panels produced in Namibia with locally mined minerals. So that's really what we want to do and how far we want to go. In fact, we are in discussions with partners. The EU, as you might be aware, we signed a partnership agreement looking into critical raw materials and green hydrogen. And some of the elements into that partnership agreements are intentions to achieve the value added finished products here in Namibia.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other trading partners that have expressed interest in building processing plants to do local beneficiation in Namibia.
What do you anticipate the main pain points or challenges or even opportunities to be when establishing these processing, establishing domestic processing?
Well, as you might be aware, Namibia is an arid country. One of the challenges that we might encounter is when you're doing beneficiation that at the far front end requires a lot of water.
Mm.
So water is naturally a challenge in Namibia, but we have programs to address those challenges in the near to medium future. The other challenge at the current time is energy. Again, we have programs in place to be energy sufficient by 2028, and that includes programs that we have put in place for independent power producers, and particularly renewable energy projects, so that they can add to the grid and we're able to have sufficient power for the whole country, not only to the mining sector, but for the entire national requirements.
Mm-hmm. So on that, sorry, go on.
Some people would say skills shortage is a challenge. I don't believe that, because you can always, as far as practically possible, source skills and build those skills locally as time goes.
So on that note of the skill shortage, very interesting you mentioned that. I know that a lot of countries around the world, for example, Indonesia, are really looking at this problem of skills shortage and establishing new educational institutes, doing knowledge transfers, etc. What do you think the strategy will be in Namibia to counter this or counter any skills shortages that you may encounter?
There are already programs at tertiary institutions to develop all sorts of skills. For short term, in other sectors, including in mining, we do employ what is called expertise with understudies. So you have an expert from wherever in the world, but below that expert, there is or there are local Namibians who are gaining knowledge transfer from that particular or those particular individuals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So next thing I want to talk about is, the more broader concept of sustainability, and there's a growing concern around the world that this mining, even though it is for the green technologies, is coming at a cost to the environment. And so a lot of countries are being scrutinized for their sustainability practices. But then there's also a balancing act, right, of enforcing sustainability and doing good for the environment, while also ensuring that countries are able to extract resources and use that to fuel their development. What are your thoughts on this, and how is Namibia positioning itself for sustainable mining?
It's not even Namibia positioning itself for sustainable mining. We are one of the very few first countries in the world to include environmental provisions in our constitution, right at independence in 1990. With that, we have developed legislations and regulations to cater for sustainable environmental management. Currently, the law that is globally being applied in Namibia is called the Environmental Management Act, and its regulations. With it, it has classified mining and quarrying as listed activities. One would not be allowed to carry out those activities unless you have done an environmental impact assessment, you have developed an environmental management plan, and you apply through the competent authorities to the ministry responsible for environmental affairs to be granted an environmental clearance certificate. Now, these environmental clearance certificates come with conditions. They are not global certificates. They are project specific, and they come with conditions. So once you are granted that environmental clearance certificate, at intervals or even by unannounced inspections, the different staff members would come and inspect your activities to make sure that you are complying with, one, the regulations, and two, the conditions of your clearance certificate. To make sure that it's reviewed periodically, the clearances are issued only for a maximum of 3 years. Then you have to apply for a renewal for that clearance certificate. If you want to add activities that were not initially included, then you have to apply an amendment to be able to carry out those activities that were not listed on the original or initial environmental clearance certificate.
Okay, sure, that's great to hear.
So we believe that there is enough safeguard for the environment, particularly in the mining sector. Of course, not everything is perfect. And I was saying, for those who transgress the conditions of the environmental clearance certificates, or they disregard the provisions of the law or the regulations, there are penalties that come with that. So, and they range depending on the severity of the transgressions.
See. Yeah, no, that's very interesting to hear, because often, people assume that that ESG or the environment is a new modern consideration, but for many states it's been something that they've been working on since the establishment of their constitutions, and Namibia certainly seems to be an example. So on this note of green technologies or sustainability in general, one of the new forms of energy that is gaining traction again, in the light of the Ukraine-Russia war, and also price drops in Kazakhstan, is uranium. And Namibia is the world's third largest producer of uranium, or was in 2022 according to global data. And the World Nuclear Association said that the country could produce up to 10% of the world's mining output for uranium. Can we expect Namibia to be the next leader in uranium?
Well, we are open to expanded investment in all sectors, including uranium. Currently, we have 3 operating mines. And of course, to increase production, one would have to make an application to the minister for approval, either to reduce or to increase your production. But substantially, that comes only with a demand and supply of that particular commodity on a global scale. Currently, our uranium goes to each and every country that that is not in violation of any international obligations as far as the International Atomic Energy Agency is concerned. So as long as one wishes to purchase uranium for peaceful purposes, and their compliance with international obligations and also local regulations, it's good for our economy if we are able to become number 1. But we also have to be careful, because these natural resources, including uranium, should also benefit the future generations. So now that uranium has also been classified under clean energy minerals, it might not make sense to overexploit for short-term benefits, because Namibia will be here forever.
Yes.
So we have to manage sustainably how we exploit our resources.
Great. On that note, then, what are your main priorities for the development of Namibia's mining sector in the midterm?
Fortunate enough, Namibia is endowed with several mineral commodities. we do not think that it's prudent to prioritize which minerals should be mined at any point in time, because it will be a matter of demand and supply. If the world needs a lot more gold, and we have gold mines operating, then the gold mines will continue to produce. If there is a high demand for uranium, like it is currently, and the prices are good, of course, we mine. And as I said, we have a range of other minerals, including now the energy minerals, the lithium, the graphites, etc., that are in demand. Mine them while they are on demand, because that opportunity only comes once in every while.
Great. Okay, well, it was lovely speaking to you, Mr.